guys, this is Francesca from Under the Covers, and I am here today with a much requested planner video. I decided to actually give you guys an update on my bookish bullet journal. This is something that I started earlier this year. It's a little bit different than what I was doing before, and I will leave a link to my old reading journal video, which was a couple of years old, in the information box down below if you want to check that out. But before we get into what I'm doing in this current bullet journal, bookish bullet journal, I will do a quick flip through of what I was doing using that old system, following what I was doing in that video. So let's just jump right into that. So this is how I have my previous years stored, and as you can see, it was just a traveler's notebook system, and I have I'll tell you now how many years are in here. This cover is from Palace Studio. I did get it a couple of years ago. I never really loved this leather necessarily, so I feel like it never really got used in like an everyday way, but I like having pretty things even for storing my notebooks. So that's what I'm currently using for storing all the old reading journals. So let's just open this up, and there's no decoration on here. It's literally just storage, so the pockets are empty. There's no knickknacks, there's no paper clips or anything like that. And I just quickly want to show you, I actually did start this March 2016, and I did it through, let's see if I can find where's the July of 2017. So it had a really good run actually, and as you can see, I completed several notebooks using this system. I really enjoyed it, and I had to step away from this just because it was a little bit overwhelming in terms of keeping up with it, and that is just basically life gets busier, and I didn't have the time to dedicate this much time for my reading journal, so I wanted something different. That's what I switched in 2017, and then 2018 I basically just had Annie Plans printables, and I will leave those linked down below, in my disc bound system. It wasn't anything fancy, it was just running lists of the books that I was reading. It is something that I want to either complete what I did those years in this style, or move that what I did those years in the new style that I'm going to show you. So that's why I'm not showing that gap of years between 2017 through now. So I was getting a little bit scrapbooky with this. These are all May design notebooks, by the way, and let's just quickly flip through them. So I just want to say, usually I was doing a cover page for the month. I was trying to have like a guide of what I wanted to include. When I first started doing this, it was a little bit too much. So as you can see here, I quickly went through just adding the cover, which I was printing at this point on the computer, and then adding my thoughts on it, like a little review, the rating, and maybe some tags that would qualify for this particular book. So just wanted to give you the overview of what I was doing, and then I will actually just do a quick flip through. So I'll try and speed this up so you're not sitting here for like 2 hours watching me flip through these, but it'll be a little bit faster, and hope you enjoy it. So some of these notebooks actually will have a few pages left at the end, just because I didn't think that I could finish another month. So this was the end of this month, and I didn't have enough, I didn't think, for the next month, so I left that empty. Now let's move on to the next notebook. So I quickly want to mention, I started printing the covers at this point with my Canon Selfie, and for the Canon Selfie you can actually purchase stickers, and this is basically the size of the stickers, which was really great. It was just getting to be, after a little while, it started getting a little expensive just from buying this particular sticker paper. On the computer I was printing them on this like whole sheet of sticker paper, and I will leave that link down below. I was getting that on Amazon. I'm actually still using those sticker sheets, like a full 8.5 by 11 sticker sheet for other things. So I will leave those linked down below, and I will also leave links for the Canon selfie ones if I can find them still available. So here I switched again what I was doing with the covers, because I wanted something that was more portable, because I found that I wasn't really getting to a computer to print the covers, so they were really accumulating. So I wanted something that was really easy to use, and this is where I bought my Polaroid zip printer, which has worked really well. The only thing that I will say about this is the paper, again, started getting quite expensive because I read a lot of books. If you read less, or if you want the covers to be smaller, because you can actually get 2 covers easily in one of these sheets, but I wanted them to be a little bit bigger, and I really love the quality, if you can see here at the beginning. So here I was using the actual Polaroid zip brand sticker paper for the machine, and then after a while I started getting like off-brand paper, and there is a huge difference in the quality. So here's book 3. We are still now starting September 2016. I can definitely see the change in the quality here. I don't know if it's going to come through on the camera, but everything is much darker than the actual colors of the pictures for these here. And going forward, I know that that's the kind of paper I was buying. So it really just came down to a cost issue and a convenience issue. So I could have had better quality color had I continued using my computer to print these, or the Canon selfie, but I wanted the portable printer, so I wanted to stick to this, but the cost made me continue buying this other paper. And sometimes I would get a little bit more creative, and here I actually made a pocket out of scrapbook paper, and I had printed this library card style list, and this is actually available in my Etsy shop. I will try and leave that link down below if I can remember. But basically I just did a list of all the books that I read that month in here, which I thought that was kind of cute. And these book rating stickers are also from my shop, so I will also try and leave those linked down below. And the last book that I completed, or I didn't actually complete this one either, but I think this one is the one that gets me through July of 2017. I was actually using some stuff from the Cocoa Daisy kits that I was getting, and I actually put tabs on this one, so you can see January, I have February here, and March, so that's as far as I got with tabbing these. Here I put another little pocket thing. I put an actual calendar for this, and I was crossing off the days when I was actually reading that day. And as you can see, here's where I sort of started falling off the wagon. I was decorating, but I wasn't filling in my thoughts because there was less time. To me, that's really depressing because I love doing this. And as you can see here in April, I literally just made the list of the books that I was reading because I didn't have time. June, again, I only had time for an actual list. And then July, I tried again to continue. But this is where it was becoming really obvious that I just wasn't gonna have the time to continue with this style. And that's where it ends. So this system had to be retired, but it's actually the system that I love the most because it's so nice for me to look back and see everything. It's a little bit more scrapbooky. It's appealing to me just because I like that style. And it feels more like a journal, so it's something that I probably will go back to, and for now it's just on hold. Okay, so now I want to get into what I'm currently doing, and that's where my bullet journal, my bookish bullet journal, comes in. This is a Leuchtturm notebook, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, and it's in the color purple, which I really love, and I put a vinyl decal on the front, which is really, really pretty. I will leave this shop linked in the information box down below. I can't think of the name right now, but I love her stuff. I actually have some of her vinyl stickers. I have some of her posters in my office. I have some of her 5x7 cards in my arc bound notebooks and in my ring bound notebooks. So I definitely love her stuff. So I highly recommend her shop. So I will leave her shop link down below. And let's just get into this notebook. Before we start talking about how I set up the notebook, I do want to talk a little bit about the supplies that I used in this notebook. Obviously, I'm using some of my Tombos, and I think this is part of the pastel pack. I will leave that link down below. I think that I've done better this year using the Tombos. I still cannot do calligraphy with them, but at least I'm using them for like decorating and coloring stuff in. I think that I'm able to get use out of these for right now. I'm using all of my Zebra mild liner highlighters. I think that they are probably the best highlighters that I've used in any planners. I continue using them. I have every single pack in every single color. Now when it comes to calligraphy, I am using, I don't know if you can actually see, this is from Tombow, and let me see if I can find the name of this pen. It's a WSBS 150. I will leave this also linked down below. It's a pack that I got that has a black and a navy blue, and I'm sort of decent at getting some calligraphy done with this. Then obviously I'm still using all my packs of the Staedtler fine liners. I love these pens. I have also been using some of these Artline Sticks coloring markers, and they're quite decent for coloring stuff in. I know that some people can do calligraphy with these. That's not the case for me. And I did get the pack that has 16 colors. Other than that, I'm also using the Papermate Inkjoy pens. I have a whole pack of these as well, and there's some writing that I'm doing with this. And then there's the two things that I'm using for most of the actual writing in this notebook. First up is the High-Tech C Coletto 5. I have this barrel that it's kind of a pearl color, and I have purple, pink, light blue, red, and green in here. Love these. I use them in all my planners. I have several Coletto pins, my favorite. And then I'm using the Sakura Micron Pigma point, I guess, 01. I will also leave this one linked down below. A lot of the black writing in this notebook, this is what I've used. A lot of the drawing lines or anything like that, this is what I've used. So this one has been one of the most used things in this planner. And let's just open this up. I used a ton of stuff that was in my stash, so I'm definitely not going to go through every sticker where it came from because it would take me forever to try to figure that out. I do know that there's stuff from Hello Petite Paper and from Powder World, and I will leave those two sticker shops linked down below. I definitely think they're my favorite sticker shops on Etsy. Everything else, the washi here is from Simply Gilded, this one, but everything else I've gotten from either Hobby Lobby, Michael's. There's a lot of Happy Planner stickers, so I definitely will not go through every single thing. And this is what's going on here. Now, my plan when I first started setting this up was to use this as my everything bullet journal. So you'll see that I had a key on here, and I started filling in certain appointments that I was having. Definitely, I can tell you that I didn't continue this. However, you will see some of the beginning pages that are set up for like a full planner. So that's some of that goals for this year. I set up also my period tracker in here, which basically works the same as how I have it set up in my Hobonichi weeks. And if you want to see my Hobonichi weeks set up, I will leave that link down below. I did do a video at the beginning of the year of how I was planning to do my setup for the whole year. I'm still using that. So I did sort of try to use this for everything, but it didn't work out. But that's basically how I have this set up. So I mark the days that I get my period, and I track symptoms, because that's basically the main thing, is I want to track symptoms. This is how I did my future log, which actually I thought it was really cute. I think that I was a lot more scared about using a future log because I thought that things would get missed, and this worked really well. So I had this set up through December of 2019, and then I had just one random column for 2020 with an actual calendar for 2020. Let me tell you guys, I put so much work in setting up all these pages, and then after a while I'm like, no, gotta go back to my Hobonichi. Then these are also spreads that I have in my Hobonichi. I drew them out here, and like I said, I wasn't keeping up with using this as my everything planner, so I didn't actually fill them in. But I had a savings tracker, I had a credit score tracker, and my bill tracker. Now this probably, I will go back at the end of the year and fill this in. What I did was sort of a Polaroid for each month, and I want to put a memory in here for each one of the months. My plan is to actually print pictures for this because I'm really not good at doodling, so I set up everything else as doodling, so that's something. But I've left it empty as something that I can fill in later, and then I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this page, so it's still a work in progress. So then I did a YouTube and Instagram stats tracker, which again, I wasn't really using this too much, so because I'm using my Hobonichi weeks. And then I did set up this year at a glance blog scheduler, and the reason I have this set up like this here is because I wanted to make sure if there was a big holiday coming up, I wanted to plan ahead for like some type of post or video or content related to that. So the main things are put on this one glance for the year. And then in here I have the setup for the planning for the blog, and this I basically copied exactly what I'm using on my Hobonichi weeks. Again, because I thought I was gonna have everything here, and all I'm doing for the planning for the content is I have all the months together, and as you can see, I started using this in May. So I have the calendar on a vertical, and then I did separate this so that I have the review books that I need to read here, and these are posts. And basically I had little boxes for whether if it's a video, whether I filmed, edit, did my thumbnail, that kind of stuff. If it's a post, if it's an interview with an author, did I send the questions to the author, did I receive it, that kind of stuff. So there's that. Obviously, like I said, this didn't really quite work out for like having everything in a way that was useful for me. So I did go back to my Hobonichi, but I already had all the spreads set up here. So I had June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. So that's how I was doing the blog tracking, blog content tracking on here. It's exactly the same layout that I'm using in my Hobonichi weeks. And now in the Hobonichi weeks, obviously I have less space, so the calendar portion is on one page, and then the reviews and all this other stuff at the bottom, advertising, that kind of stuff, it's on the second page. So then I did a spread for video ideas, which I'm just like randomly dumping stuff in there. So this is where the Bookish bullet journal actually officially starts. I have my bookish goals for the year, and I did that this way, and I'm coloring them in as I complete them. As you can see, I'm not doing so great. Then the second spread here is for the total reading goal for the year, and I actually took this idea from a spread that I have as a printable, and I think I have this one available in my Etsy shop. If it's listed, I will leave it linked down below, and if it's not listed, I'll try and get this up for you guys. But here I just drew it instead of printing it out, and I'm basically just coloring in the hearts. I put in the numbers myself, so actually in the printable the numbers are not filled in, so that the goal can be whatever your goal is. So I do have it right now up to 230, which I've read 100. Up next I have yearly stats, and this is something that I do need to update. I also keep a digital reading log, and that usually really helps me figure this out. But basically I'm keeping track of how many books per genre I read every month. So I have all the genres here, and then ratings, and then I have all the ratings here so that I can see, well, this month I read a lot of great books, or I read a lot of crappy books. Now what I did here is, this I added recently, is backlist or frontlist, because I want to keep track of whether I read more new releases or older books. So that I haven't filled in yet, but I will be tracking that per month. And then for authors, I'm keeping track whether I've read the author before, it's a debut author, it's a new to me author. And then these up top here is going to be for the end of the year stats. So I have shortest book, longest book, most read genre, least favorite book, biggest letdown, favorite series, favorite new to me, favorite debut author, favorite hero, favorite heroine, total pages read, total books, average rating, favorite author, favorite cover, best sex scene, best action scene, and favorite couple. And I have space if I want to add anything else for the year. So those will not get filled in until December. So the next spread, I have my monthly stats for book count, total book count. And I'm going to do this as a graph and color it in. So I'm just putting the little lines as I go for this, and then eventually I'll color it in. I want to actually color this in as a gradient, so I will color that in at the end of the year. And I really don't keep track of pages read so much, so I feel like at the end of the year I will put a count of how many pages read per month. I just didn't want to start that because I don't know what my numbers are going to be every month, so I want to make sure that I make this with the right numbers. So I will fill in this graph at the end of the year, and again it'll have a nice pretty gradient. So in here, some of my goals are actually to make sure that I'm reading enough of books in the subscription services that I pay for, which is Kindle Unlimited and Audible Romance. So for Audible Romance, I've calculated I need to read 1 book a month to make the service worth it to keep. And for Kindle Unlimited, I need to read 2, preferably 3, but at least 2. Also, one of my bookish goals for the year is to read more audiobooks, and I think I do have a number of how many per month I want to read. So I am keeping track of how many audiobooks I'm reading per month, and that's basically how this setup is. Each box is a month, so there's 12 boxes for audiobooks, there's 12 boxes for Kindle Unlimited, and 12 boxes for Audible Romance, and I'm just keeping track of my total of those per month. So after that, I have my Romance Happily spread. I actually drew this in, and then I just printed the center image. I'm sort of proud of how this turned out. It's not my best work. I do see some lines that are messed up, which gives me OCD, but I'm just going with the flow. And I'm keeping track here of what books I've read. I do have an extra page, so because this is gonna run out of space pretty soon, and I'm coloring them in based on the color on the board for the most part when I finish them. So sort of doing okay. That's the books that I've read, and I'm also keeping track of what my rating was for them. And when I go over, this is where I'm going to be putting the rest. Now, there's another challenge that I'm doing this year, and it's the Tackle My TBR Challenge by Kimberly Faye Reads, and this is my spread for that. These here are like the rules or the categories of how many books you would qualify for. This is my monthly tracking of how many I've read. I'm also going to do the same thing with the graph, so I am just putting the lines, and then I will color in that graph at the end of the year, and I will have one big total for the year of books that I tackled from my old TBR. Up next is two spreads. One is my new releases that I'm most anticipating for each month, and I highlight them once I've read them, so I still have some that I was highly anticipating for months that are past and I haven't read them. So at least it gives me a good idea of what's coming up and what I still haven't read. Obviously, like I said, these are like the most anticipated ones for each month. And then this spread here is one book a month that's my favorite book that I read that month. So I have all the way through June right now. Up next, I have my past due review books, and all the ones that I have on this bookshelf here are past due review books that I already started the year with. So that means all of these I've gotten prior to January 2019 and I was behind. So one of my goals for the year is to actually make sure I get at least 5 books off of this list, and I've read 1, 2, 3, so I'm getting closer. And I will leave link down below the shop where I downloaded this printable from. Same with this one. I do want to color this in, but I want to make sure I do it when I'm really in the mood for coloring. So that's why it's left empty, but this is all printed with the sticker paper that I mentioned before that I will leave link down below. And I will also leave link down below the shops where I've gotten any of these printables. So up next is my Kindle Unlimited spread, because I like to keep track of whether I have stuff sitting on my Kindle that's really old on Kindle Unlimited. I tend to not remember once like I get a bunch of other stuff and the books just keep going down the list. So at least I know that there's stuff sitting there that I need to get back to. This is from Annie Plans Printables, and I did a 2-page spread. I also put a sticky note on here, and this is because you can only have 10 Kindle Unlimited books out at any given time, and these are just ideas for books that I want to get to at some point, but I didn't actually take them out on Kindle Unlimited yet. So then it's my Audible Romance spread, which is basically the same idea. You can only have 10 books out on Audible Romance. It's actually now called Audible Escape, and I'm not sure if I need a 2-page spread. That's why I left this page empty. Maybe if I need it, I will just do the same thing that I did on the Kindle Unlimited and just stick another one of these here. Otherwise, I will do something else with this page in the future. So this spread here is my series tracker, and the reason why I needed a series tracker, obviously it's nowhere near all the series that I read. This is part of my goals, my bookish goals for the year. So when the year started, one of my goals was to read 1 book a month on the In Depth series. So I have that tracker here. Obviously there's more than 12 books in that series, but that's the 12th that I've set out to read this year. Then I wanted to start 2 older series, not finish them. So the first one is the Final Prophecy series by Jessica Anderson. Still have not even read 1 book, but the other one is the Alex Craft series by Kalena Price. I did read book 1. So technically I would call that mission accomplished on that one, but we'll see. We were also trying to do a buddy reread of the Immortals After Dark series. I am failing miserably at that, you guys, but I'm trying. So there's 18 books in that series. I've read all of them, so this is a complete reread. I managed to reread 3, so I'm not a big rereader, so that's pretty good for me. And then on this page I put some series that I want to try and finish, just sort of to focus myself when I'm trying to pick my books, even if it's by mood. I am failing pretty badly at this. I did color in the ones that were already read. The only thing that I actually read this year from this tracker is book 2 in the Princess Trilogy by Elizabeth Hoyt. Everything else that you see colored in was already read prior to 2019, which means I really need to get moving with reading some of these books. Okay, so now moving on, I have another type of like library printable. It's from the same shop as the one with my past due review books, so I will leave that link down below as well. I did have to resize this a little bit in Photoshop to make it fit this size, so just fair warning, it's not like ready to print on this size. I pretty much only added books that I purchased from last year through now, just because otherwise this would be a really long list. But this is sort of my immediate TBR of books that I've recently purchased that I want to read, and for the most part I think there's only 1 paperback. Everything else is either ebook or audiobook. So after that are my monthlies. So for my TBR, I am trying to do a TBR at the beginning of the month. And some months I may not do it, but for right now I'm doing it on some. This is also a printable. I will also leave that link down below. And this was my original TBR at the beginning of the month. I colored everything in with Tombos, and I did pretty good. I read a lot of the books that I was planning on reading. Then I'm putting my Romanzopoly cards that I landed on, the ones that I had to read that month. I'm putting them on here just with washi tape, and I'm highlighting the books that I read. And after that, I'm just quickly making a list of the books that I am reading that month, putting like the number, so that's book 1, and then I'm putting the title, author, how long it took me to read it. So this one I started January 3rd, finished January 7th. It's an audiobook, so I'm putting the format, the rating, and the genre. So pretty simple. And then I'm doing some monthly stats at the end of the month. Basically, number of books read, number of pages read, sources, so how many were from my TBR, how many I purchased, and how many were review books. The type of publisher, so which ones were indie, small press, or traditional. The new to me authors and debut authors. The rating average, most read genre. Format, whether it's audio or ebook. Generally, I don't read print, that's why I don't have it here. Subscriptions for Kindle Unlimited and Audible Romance, which is now Audible Escape. And then my favorites of the month: favorite book, favorite couple, favorite hero, favorite heroine, biggest letdown, longest book read, shortest book read, longest audiobook, shortest audiobook, and total number of books read so far this year. So this one here will give me a final running countdown at the end of each month. So here's what I did with February. The TBR, I did it on this like iPad kind of design. This is actually from my shop. I still did pretty good. There's only one that I didn't get to, and this one I colored it in with the zebra mile liners. I'm not loving how it looks like really stripy, so there's that issue. Again, this is the Romanzopoly cards for that month. And the books that I read in February, just listed the same way that I was doing in January. And then my stats. Now for March, I did, again, one of those library cards from my shop. I did my TBR on that. There's 2 books that I didn't get to read from there. I do plan on finishing this off with maybe a doodle or some kind of sticker, but I didn't do that yet. Here's the March books that I read and the Romanzopoly cards. Now, as you may notice, I'm behind on writing down all the stats. Life has been really hectic. So here we go with April. This was my TBR for April. I really sucked at following my TBR in April, but that's the 3 cards that I completed in April for Romanzopoly. I think that these were all part of the Romanzopoly-a-thon, readathon that we did, and that's the books that I read in April. And then of course I need to still fill in the stats, but that's where they'll go. In May, I was really strapped for time. I had one vacation with my family. I went to the RT Book Lovers Convention, then Suzanne was at my house, so there was really no time for anything that month. And I was planning on doing my TBR the same way I did in February on this iPad cover, but I ended up doing the actual books that I read that month because it just so happened that I had enough boxes for that. So I did put the dates that I read them up top, the author and title of the book in the box, and then I put the star rating and the genre underneath it. So that's what this was, and that's the spots that I read in May for Romanzopoly. So I did this 2-page spread was for the whole month. My stats will go here. Now in June, I thought that I was going to go back to this being like my everything planner, so I actually set it up with like a full cover page. That this I actually wanted to decorate with like little leaves and stuff, but I never got around to it. I did do a monthly spread with like to-dos and whatnot. Then I did a list of all the videos I had to film that month, so I did manage to film all of those. This is my 2 Romanzopoly spots that I landed in the month of June. As you can see, they're not highlighted because I didn't actually read them in June. However, we will highlight them now because they are complete. So technically this page here was my June TBR, and I based it a lot on readathons. So I have my Smuttathon, Summerathon, Winterathon, Romance Happily, and then other things that I needed to read. So this is how I did the TBR for June. Some things I completed, some things I didn't. Then these are some things for videos. So it's just lists. And this is my June books that I read with the same format that I've been using. The stats will go down here. And this is how I'm doing July right now. So I decorated a little bit the cover. I'm gonna write my TBR here. I only have one book for sure that I have on my TBR. I don't know if I'll have time for more. That's why I've left this sort of empty. I may end up just coming here with a sticker just because I have quite a few books to read from Romance Happily, and then I have a lot of review books that I want to get through, so I'm not putting too much pressure on myself for TBR. And this is what I've finished so far. So I left a 2-page spread for that. This is my list of the favorite books of the year so far, which I did before filming the mid-year book freakout tag. I already started a list of the summer book recommendations for another video as well, which I don't know, maybe you'll see that video before this one goes up. And this is what I did for the mid-year book freakout tag. Obviously everything here I have read. These are the books that I told myself I want to read before the end of 2019, and I actually just put check boxes next to them because if I do manage to read them, I would like to see this all checked off. The next page is my YouTube videos I need to film for July and August. So I have all 18 videos or video ideas that I need to film in these 2 months. And that's where I'm at right now. So there's quite a bit of space left. Now what I was hoping to start doing is slowly incorporating in this notebook some of the idea of what I've done before. So maybe putting a little bit of scrapbook paper, putting down covers. At least if I do that for my favorite books of the year or anything from 4 stars and up, I think I would love to see that because everything will be in a nice compact place for the whole year. Obviously I don't need these many pages to complete like the books that I've read and all of that, so I'm definitely thinking about that. I'm totally doing this as an on-the-go kind of thing, which is the nature of having a bullet journal, and so far I'm enjoying that. So now the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is actually a product review for a notebook that I recently received, and that is the Clever Fox Dotted Notebook. I actually was contacted by Clever Fox to review their planner, and just because I don't really use structure planners that much, except for the Hobonichi weeks that I've been using for a really long time, and I don't want to disturb that, so I didn't really want to get into their planner. However, I love how cute their notebooks are. They have a rose gold one that's really nice also, but I feel like this was nice and bright, and I love actually these 2 colors together. So my intention is to use this for next year. So I'm really not gonna write too much into this notebook right now, so I just wanted to show it to you guys as a comparison and a review. So this is the standard A5 size from Leuchtturm, and I wanted to make sure that you guys could see this is a little bit smaller. It's the same height, but it's not quite as wide. I think that for a bookish bullet journal though, this would be perfect. And the fact that I like my Hobonichi weeks, one of the things that I love about the Hobonichi weeks is how it's more compact in width. So I feel like this size will be perfect for my bookish bullet journal for next year. It has a really nice feel also to the cover, and it does have a pen loop, which is handy because here I don't have a pen loop and I really need to get one of those stick-ons to put on here. Now the main difference that I do want to note with these 2, other than the size obviously, is the quality of the paper. Now the Leuchtturm is thick, but it's quite soft and a little bit see-through. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little bit, but with the Clever Fox, let me just take this off so you can see the notebook. And like I said, this is also a dotted notebook, same as the Leuchtturm. So a couple of things to notice is the fact that the dots are a lot closer together than in the Leuchtturm, so that could either be good or bad for you guys. I really like that the pages are also numbered same as the Leuchtturm, so if you want to keep an index, it's really easy to keep track of the pages. The paper quality though is completely different, but if you want your paper to have a little bit more of the feel of like an Erin Condren or a Happy Planner, then definitely this would be a great choice because it has a lot more of that satiny, thicker feel to the paper. It also comes with some stickers, which would be great for more of planning. These don't really apply too much for books, although there's these 5 here that are like reading related. So as far as my first impressions and my thoughts on this, I really like the quality of it, and I think it would be a really nice compact size. If you feel like maybe this size could be a little bit bigger or more intimidating because there's more space to fill, this would be great for an actual bookish bullet journal. And if what you want to do is more of the style of what I was doing before, I feel like it's actually maybe the same size or very close in size to these May Design notebooks. So let's just take one out and check it out. So it's pretty much same. I feel like the paper inside will be exactly the same size as the May Design notebook, which, I mean, it was perfect for this kind of stuff. So I feel like if you're looking for something compact that maybe you can have the whole year and do this style of bookish bullet journal type of reading journal, this would be ideal. I think it has enough pages to get you through maybe half of the year or the whole year if you don't read as much as I do, or if you put your covers smaller. So definitely I think it's a great choice. Now, because I'm partnering with Clever Fox for this video, they are offering one of you guys your choice. Now, because I'm partnering with Clever Fox planners for this video, they are actually offering a giveaway. So there will be one winner and you'll be able to get your notebook or planner of choice from their selection. So you don't have to get the dotted notebook, but you can, or you can just get one of their pre-printed planners. I will leave all the details for the giveaway in the information box down below. And that's all I have for you guys today. That's the flip through of all my bookish bullet journal / reading journals. I love keeping stats, and I've always kept those stats digitally, but I love also be able to flip through a notebook and see everything as well. It's just nice to be able to look back through a whole year all together in one place by just flipping through a notebook. So I definitely will always continue having some sort of bookish bullet journal as a companion of my digital. And in case you're wondering about my digital reading log, I have done a video on that. I will leave a link down below on how I started doing that this year. I still use Goodreads, but I always like to keep track of more things than Goodreads allows me to. So I will leave a link in the information box down below to my digital reading log. That's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I do plan on having another planner video soon. Like I said, life has really been hectic at the moment. We're in the process of moving, so there's a lot of things that I need to do, and that sometimes leaves me with less time to work on planning, like decorating or anything like that, or to do really long videos like this one, because somehow I always end up talking a lot when it comes to planners just because I love them so much. But if I can manage to do an update, like a mid-year update on my planning system, I will be sure to have that for you guys. Be sure to check the information box down below. I will try and leave as much stuff linked down there for you guys. If you have a question about anything, about where I got something and I have not mentioned it there, just leave me a comment and I will try and look that up and answer you. And don't forget to enter the giveaway from Clever Fox Planners. All the details will be also in the information box down below. So good luck with the giveaway. Don't forget to follow us on the blog at underthecoversbookblog.com. On our social media, you can find us on Instagram at UTCBookblog, and all our other social media is linked in the information box down below as well. Thank you so much for sticking with me and for watching this, and we'll see you again in the next video. Bye!